Welcome to Teller's Drum, the exact spot you want to be.
Have you ever looked in a mirror and made a funny face just to see how you look? Maybe you've waved at your reflection or fixed your hair. Simple stuff, right? But here's the crazy part. Most animals can't do that. In fact, many don't even understand that they're looking at themselves. A dog might bark at the mirror. A cat might ignore it completely. But only a few animals, just a special few, look in a mirror and know, that's me.
And once you realize which animals can do this, it might just change how you see the animal world forever. The mirror test. The simple trick that changed everything. Back in 1970, a scientist named Gordon Gallup came up with a weird little test. He put a chimpanzee in front of a mirror. At first, the chimp acted like it was meeting another chimp. It made faces, waved its arms, and seemed confused. But then something amazing happened. The chimp started to use the mirror to look at parts of its own body, its teeth, its ears, even its butt. Yes, really. That's when Gallup had an idea. He put a red mark on the chimp's forehead while it was asleep. The next time the chimp looked in the mirror, it didn't try to touch the mirror. It touched its own forehead.
That simple act, touching the mark, proved something huge.
The chimp knew it was looking at itself. This became known as the mirror test, and it blew scientists' minds. It showed that some animals aren't just reacting to the world, they're actually thinking about themselves. That's something we used to think only humans could do. So which animals can recognize themselves? After that first test, researchers started trying it with other animals. And guess what? Some of our closest animal relatives, the great apes, passed with flying colors. Chimpanzees. Yep, they're mirror pros. Orangutans. They also passed. Some even looked like they were posing. Bonobos. Super smart and very self-aware. Gorillas. Mixed results, but some definitely showed they understood. These apes used mirrors to check out their teeth, look at their eyes, or even groom spots they couldn't usually see. It wasn't random. They knew it was them in the mirror. And then came the surprises: elephants and dolphins. You might not expect a huge elephant to be self-aware, but elephants are crazy smart. In fact, in 2006, an elephant named Happy became famous for passing the mirror test. Researchers put a white X on her forehead. Happy walked up to a big mirror, took one look, and used her trunk to touch the X on her own head. She didn't touch the mirror. She knew exactly what she was doing. Elephants don't just recognize themselves, they also show signs of empathy, grief, and even joy. They're some of the most emotional animals on the planet. And what about dolphins? Oh boy, dolphins are mirror wizards. They can recognize themselves in a mirror when they're just 7 months old. That's faster than human babies. Dolphins love mirrors. They spin, flip, and make faces almost like they're playing with their reflection. Some dolphins even use mirrors to check their teeth or look inside their mouths. That's not just smart. That's amazing. What's going on inside their heads? So why can some animals do this and others can't?
It all comes down to the brain. Animals that pass the mirror test usually have big, complex brains, especially the part called the prefrontal cortex. That's the area that helps with things like
decision-making, understanding emotions, thinking about the future. And yes, thinking about yourself. These animals also tend to live in social groups. They need to know who's who. That helps them survive, make friends, and avoid enemies. Recognizing yourself is a big part of understanding how you fit in the group. For humans, this skill shows up when we're about 18 to 24 months old. That's when babies start pointing to their nose in the mirror or laughing at themselves. That's when we start to realize, hey, that's me. Wait, birds can do it too? Get ready for this. It's not just mammals. Some birds can recognize themselves too. Meet the magpie, a black and white bird with a brain the size of a walnut. You wouldn't expect much, right? But magpies passed the mirror test. In one experiment, scientists put tiny colored stickers on magpies' necks where they couldn't see them without a mirror. When they looked in the mirror, the birds scratched at the stickers like, "What's this doing here?" That means the magpies understood the reflection was their own body. A bird with a tiny brain knew it was looking at itself. Mind blown. What about dogs, cats, and ants? Okay, now here's the twist. Dogs and cats, two of the smartest pets we know, usually fail the mirror test. Dogs often bark at the mirror like it's another dog. Cats might bat at it or just walk away. They don't seem to realize it's them. Does that mean they aren't smart? Nope. It might just mean they don't use vision the way we do.
Dogs live in a world of smells. For them, scent is everything. So instead of a mirror test, some scientists tried a smell test. They gave dogs samples of their own pee. Yep, science is weird, and then gave them samples that were slightly changed.
When the pee smelled different, the dogs got curious. That means they might actually recognize their own scent and maybe even have a sense of self, just not a visual one.
And get this, in one experiment, even ants showed strange behavior around mirrors. Some scientists believe they might pass a tiny version of the mirror test. That's still up for debate, but it makes you wonder what else we've missed.
Does failing the test mean an animal isn't smart? Not at all. The mirror test only checks for visual self-recognition. But animals experience the world in very different ways. Take the octopus, for example. Octopuses are escape artists. They can open jars, solve puzzles, and even recognize people. But so far, they haven't passed the mirror test. That doesn't mean they're not self-aware. It might just mean we need better ways to test them. Some scientists say the mirror test is a bit unfair. It's made for creatures who care about how they look. But what if an animal doesn't care about its reflection? That doesn't mean it's dumb. It might just mean it's focused on other things like smells, sounds, or feelings. Why does any of this matter? Here's the big question. Why do we care if an animal can recognize itself? Because it tells us something deep. If an animal knows who it is, it might also be able to understand what others are feeling, think about the future, feel sadness, or even guilt, make choices based on past memories. That's not just animal instinct, that's real consciousness. Some countries are starting to take this seriously. For example,
India declared dolphins as non-human persons, meaning they can't be kept in entertainment parks. An orangutan named Sandra was moved from a zoo to a sanctuary after a judge ruled she had rights because of her intelligence.
We're beginning to realize that animals aren't just creatures. Some are beings. With minds. With feelings. Maybe even with dreams. The mirror is just the beginning. Think about it. A mirror is just glass. But for some animals, it reflects something amazing, not just a body, but a mind.
When a chimp touches its forehead. When a dolphin spins in front of the glass. When an elephant gently taps its own head. We're not just watching animals. We're watching awareness. Life. Recognizing itself. And when we see that, we realize something beautiful. We're not as alone as we thought. Other minds exist out there. Other beings think, feel, and even look back at us. Just like we look back at ourselves. Thank you for watching.